There was a time when virtual reality was being hailed as the next big thing for gaming. Sony, Valve and Oculus were just a few to praise VR and talk about how it was really going to revolutionise the way that we play our games. And now, a few years on, VR isn't quite the game changer that we all expect. At least that's what Sony thinks.
Back in October 2016, Sony released the PlayStation VR headset for the PS4. Sony found themselves in a strong position with the PSVR being the most accessible and affordable way to get into VR gaming. Then in December 2017, Sony announced they had sold 2 million PSVR units worldwide, effectively making them a market leader in VR tech. But PSVR hasn't taken off quite like Sony would have liked it to. During an investor relations event, Sony said VR market growth was, quote, below expectation. Sony gave a presentation about the challenges and improvements facing the company, and VR was one of 3 areas they said needs to be improved, along with their TV service, PlayStation View, and the mobile development branch, ForwardWorks.
Sony aren't the only ones concerned about the VR market. Earlier this month, Oculus's Matt Conte told GamesIndustry.biz the VR market in 2018 was smaller than they had hoped. Conte said, quote, "I'm not going to mince words, VR is still small. There's not as many headsets out there as we thought there might be a couple of years ago. It's growing, and it's actually growing at a pretty decent pace. But every decision that you make, you should be thinking about, how does this get my title into most users' hands as possible? Some people find it weird that we tell them to ship on all platforms. We don't want exclusivity, we want VR to thrive. But VR is niche, and you don't want to be a niche within a niche. Ship everywhere. Oculus, PlayStation VR, Steam, mobile if you can. Do whatever you can to get as many eyes on it as possible." Despite Sony's disappointment in the slow growth of VR, they've said they remain committed to the PSVR. I love my PS4. I f***ing love it. I haven't got PSVR. Why, Jake? It's because it's like the same price as the console. There's no point spending that much money on it for tech demos. I am the demographic, and they've really missed out because they're just not really making it seem exciting. Like, they show it off at E3 every year, and everyone's just like, oh, come on, let's get to Death Stranding already, or whatever. It's always the part where you go, oh.
It is surprising that they say that the VR has underperformed, right? Because they are market leaders. They're the ones who've sold the most out of all the VR units. So Sony have sold the most, but it's underperforming. It's not doing well enough. Because what they want is they want as many units in people's hands as possible, so that gets developers on board. You don't want to limit your potential customer base by only being able to sell to like 2 million people if you produce a game. You want to be able to sell to the 70 million people that have got a PS4 unit, not just the 2 million people. So that limits your profits. And there was a quote that I read somewhere about Dean Hall, who said that the problem for him is that you can't actually turn a profit making the VR games. Like that is a big stumbling block for developers or people who want to produce things for the VR market, because there's just no profit. You're not able to pay the bills even. So that's what's restricting it. And this exclusivity thing, I've got one. I've got an Oculus Rift. I don't put it on because it's like, it's a bit cumbersome, it takes me out of the room, I'm not able to talk with people, it's like I have to commit my whole body to this experience. For me, games are fun enough. I don't need to buy a PSVR to have as much fun. Like Jake was saying, it's an extra expense. Game is fun as it is. I think that's the real problem facing VR. How do you get people excited about all those things that I challenge VR right now? I used to be an optimist, I'm a bit of a skeptic now, I will be honest. And when it comes to the next generation, PS5, and when that comes up, we've been talking about it recently, next couple of years, will they carry the PSVR units support into the PS5? And if they don't, I think that'll be the end of VR, and then the whole trend of VR that's kicked up recently. Sony have to support the PSVR unit and the current models going forward into the next generation, otherwise it's game over.
In other PlayStation news, Sony Interactive President John Kodera has said he sees a future in portable gaming. Kodera's predecessor, Andrew House, believed there was limited potential in the handheld gaming market, and Sony would not be exploring it after the disappointing performance of the PlayStation Vita. Kodera, however, holds the opposite view, and he sees portable gaming as an important part of the PlayStation ecosystem. Kodera said, quote, "In my opinion, rather than separating portable gaming from consoles, it's necessary to continue thinking of it, portable gaming, as one method to deliver more gaming experiences and exploring what our customers want from portable. We want to think about many options." Kodera avoided making comparisons to the Switch, but he did say Sony have been experimenting with projects like PlayLink and mobile games.
Sony have made quite a few attempts at breaking into the handheld market, starting with the PSP in 2005 and the PS Vita Vita in 2012. While the PSP was actually quite successful, with over 82 million consoles sold worldwide and a bunch of great games, the Vita was a different story. The Vita only managed to sell 4 million units by the end of 2012, but the lack of games and developer support meant the system never gained any real traction. The Vita did enjoy some popularity in Japan and somewhat of a cult following here in the West, but it was constantly overshadowed by its rival, the Nintendo 3DS. It's an interesting one, this, because of the success of the Nintendo Switch, and we probably wouldn't be having this conversation otherwise. Nintendo Switch has been awesome for mobile gaming. I've got one, I love it. It's opened up a new possibility of being able to play games sitting on my couch playing with the kids, cooking my tea, playing the Switch. It's brilliant, and you're playing like almost pretty much AAA games, like on the go, which is fantastic. I want Sony to bring out a competitor for Nintendo Switch, because there are certain things that Nintendo Switch don't do right, because they don't have support for like a thing like a browser on your. There's other things, you could have Netflix and that as well. It would make the console so much better. Competition in the market would be great. Imagine PS5 comes with like a docking station and you can take out a part of it and then take that with you on the go. That would be awesome, wouldn't it, John Kodera?
And Nintendo in the 90s had the Game Boy. It was awesome. I had the Game Boy. Most people in the 90s had a Game Boy. But now there's a whole generation of kids that kind of don't know that. The only mobile game device they've got and care about until the Switch came along was their phones, because home consoles and PCs have been miles ahead, way better. The PSP was okay. The Vita has a cult following in the West. Liam is the head of that cult, right? The Nintendo Switch has made people realize that they actually do care about portable gaming. So what I'm saying is Nintendo has educated the market for PlayStation, and now PlayStation can just come along and, like you're just saying there, prey on that sort of need that people have for portable gaming. Wouldn't it be awesome if you could play God of War on the go? Do stuff like that, and you know what? I reckon we will see resurgence of PlayStation portable games, and I reckon John Kodera, who's been a big fan of it since day one, since when he wasn't the top of PlayStation, when he was just working there, he's always backed that, and I think with him at the helm, we will see some really decent portable options. I believe that. PlayStation VR, PlayStation Vita. Did you care? Are you one of the few people that have one of these, still use it? Let us know in the comment section below if you'd be interested in the next generation of VR or portable gaming. Why don't you leave a like if you enjoyed the video, subscribe if you're new around here. There's more content on the screen right here if you want to check out some more of our stuff. And there's also a link to our Patreon if you want to support the channel. Until then, we'll see you next time.